Have you ever heard a story where a single royal affair didn't just cause a little gossip, but sparked a war, got a prophet killed, and ended in the total ruin of a king? Well, that's what we're diving into today. This is the incredible story of Herod Antipas and how a forbidden love cost him absolutely everything.
So that's really the big question, isn't it? How does something so personal, an affair, spiral so out of control that it actually leads to a full-blown war? It sounds like something out of a TV show, right? But for Herod Antipas, this wasn't fiction. It was the devastating reality that brought his entire world crashing down. For him, the answer was simple and brutal: the complete and utter destruction of his army. But here's the really fascinating part. People back then didn't just see it as a military mistake. The historian Flavius Josephus tells us it was widely seen as divine judgment, God's punishment for the king's sins. So to really get why people felt that way, we have to start near the end of the story. Let's go to the year 36 AD, to a battlefield where all of Antipas's choices finally caught up with him. In one single, decisive battle, Antipas's army was just crushed by the forces of his rival, King Herodias IV. And to make it even worse, it was a humiliating defeat, partly because of treachery. Some of his own soldiers actually switched sides in the middle of the fight, so this wasn't just a loss, it was a total collapse. So why did people think this was divine punishment? Well, Josephus tells us that many believed this defeat was payback, but not just for the war. It was for another one of Antipas's great sins. To understand what that was, we need to hit rewind and go back about a decade and untangle some seriously messy family drama. And look, let's be real, the Herodian family tree is notoriously confusing. It's this tangled web of half-siblings, nieces, and political marriages. But don't worry, we're not going to get lost in the weeds. We're just going to focus on the 4 key players you need to know to make sense of this whole scandal. First up, our main guy, Herod Antipas. He's one of the sons of the infamous Herod the Great, and at this point, he's the ruler, the tetrarch, of Galilee and Perea. So he's powerful, he's established, and he is about to make a decision that will change his life forever. Next, we have Herodias. Now, she is also a grandchild of Herod the Great, which actually makes her Antipas's niece. The historical sources paint her as this incredibly ambitious and powerful woman who is a major driving force in this whole affair. Then there's Herod Philip I. He's Antipas's half-brother, but here's the key difference. He doesn't rule anything. He's living as a wealthy private citizen over in Rome. And, most importantly, he is Herodias' first husband. And finally, let's meet King Artaxerxes IV. This guy is the powerful king of the neighboring Nabatean kingdom. And his connection to our story is absolutely vital. He is the father of Herod Antipas's current wife. He's a powerful man, and his honor is about to be very badly insulted. Okay, quick pause because this is super important and it trips a lot of people up. There were 2 Philips in the family who get confused all the time. The one we care about is Herod Philip I. He's Herodias' husband living in Rome. The other Philip was also a ruler, a tetrarch, but he is not part of this scandal at all. Keeping those 2 straight is going to be key to following what happens next. Okay, so we know who's who. Now let's get to the moment that lit the fuse on this entire powder keg. We're heading to Rome around the year 27 AD. So, Antipas is on a trip to Rome, and he stays with his half-brother, Philip. And it's there that he becomes completely infatuated with his brother's wife, Herodias. They start an affair that basically shatters every rule in the book. It's a betrayal of family, a betrayal of loyalty, and a massive violation of religious law. So they make this secret deal. Herodias agrees she'll leave her husband, Philip. In return, Antipas promises to divorce his wife, Phasaelis. And this is the move that lights the political fire. Phasaelis isn't just anybody. She's the daughter of the powerful King Herodias. This isn't just a personal divorce, it's a massive political insult. But, secrets like this rarely stay secret for long. Antipas's wife, Phasaelis, found out about the whole plan. Playing it cool, she pretended she didn't know anything and asked to visit a fortress near her father's kingdom. And from there, she fled straight to King Herodias and told him everything. The stage for revenge was officially set. But the fallout wasn't just political. The scandal sent moral and religious shockwaves through the region. And that brought a new, powerful voice into our story, a voice that absolutely refused to stay silent. And that voice belonged to John the Baptist. He publicly called out Antipas's marriage to Herodias, declaring it unlawful. This wasn't some quiet criticism. It was a loud, public denunciation that directly challenged the king's moral authority in front of everyone.
This public condemnation kicked off a fatal chain of events. Herodias was enraged by the public shaming and demanded John be silenced. Antipas, who was actually afraid John's influence could spark a rebellion, had him arrested. And it all came to a head at a royal birthday party. Herodias' daughter, Salome, danced for Antipas. He was so pleased he foolishly made a public oath to give her anything she wanted. Coached by her furious mother, Salome made the horrifying request, the head of John the Baptist. Antipas was trapped by his own public promise, and he gave the order. So now we have all the pieces on the board. A scandalous marriage that insulted a neighboring king, a vengeful father-in-law waiting for paybacks, and a murdered prophet. Together, these events pave the road to Antipas's final, humiliating downfall.
Now, here's something about this story that might surprise you: the timing. It's so easy to think all of this happened back to back, but it didn't. The affair starts around 27 AD, John is executed a couple of years later, but the war with Herodias, that doesn't break out until 36 AD. That's almost a decade after the original scandal. It tells you that these were deep-seated grudges that just simmered for years.
And you can see it laid out really clearly here. The consequences unfolded over 12 long years. From that first affair to the disastrous war, each event just built on the last. And it all culminates just 3 years after his military defeat, in 39 AD, with the final punishment, exile. So what was the final nail in the coffin? Well, ironically, it was Herodias' ambition all over again. She got jealous because her brother was given the title of king, so she pushed Antipas to go to Rome and demand the same title from the emperor Caligula. That move backfired spectacularly. Instead of a crown, Antipas was accused of treason. Caligula stripped him of all his territory and banished him and Herodias to Gaul, which is modern-day France. The very ambition that started this whole thing was the cause of their final disgraceful end. And that really brings us back to the heart of it all, doesn't it? The story of Herod Antipas is this timeless warning about power, pride, and personal weakness. It really makes you ask, when the personal desires of the powerful clash with their public duties, who ends up paying the price? And as we've seen in this story, the answer is often everyone: the prophet, the army, and in the end, the ruler himself.